Hi there, I'm Ella, and welcome to the Vanilla Mindset. This podcast is your cozy space for soft thoughts, slow living, and creating a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. Today's episode is called Say Less, Mean More. And I want to start this episode with a very honest confession. I used to over-explain everything. My choices, my feelings, my boundaries, my schedule, my tone, my intentions. If there was even a tiny chance someone might misunderstand me, I was already halfway through a TED talk trying to clarify. I told myself it was because I was thoughtful, kind, and considerate, which, yes, maybe a little, but psychology helped me see something else. A lot of my over explaining came from anxiety, not kindness. So, if you are someone who feels the urge to fill silence, justify your decisions, or soften every boundary with a paragraph of context, this episode is for you. Let's talk about why saying less can actually mean more. In a regulated nervous system, communication becomes simpler. You do not need to convince. You do not need to manage everyone's reaction. You trust that your words can stand on their own. When the nervous system is dysregulated, we tend to overtalk. We add disclaimers. We apologize preemptively. We explain ourselves into exhaustion. Oh boy. Here's a quote that I love that captures this actually pretty perfectly. Over explaining is often a sign of self protection, not clarity. And that hit me the first time I read it. Saying less is not about being cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. It is about being grounded. It is about trusting that what you mean does not require excessive packaging to be valid. Psychologically speaking, over explaining is often linked to a fear of being misunderstood or rejected. When we have learned that our needs might not be met unless we justify them, we start to treat communication like a defense strategy. We give people extra information so they will not be upset. We soften our truth so it will land better. We explain our boundaries so they feel less threatening. But here's the reframe I want you to sit with. Clarity does not need explanation. When something is true for you, it does not need to be acceptable. Think about the people you perceive as confident or grounded. They are not usually the ones talking the most. They speak clearly, they pause, they let their words land, and they do not rush to clean up other people's reactions. And that's not because they're careless or anything, it is because they feel safe. And safety changes how we communicate. When you feel safe in your body, you can tolerate silence. You can tolerate someone else having feelings. You can tolerate not being perfectly understood in that moment. And that tolerance allows you to say less while meaning more. The thing is, you don't even have to explain yourself to be understood. You just have to trust yourself to be clear. But now let's talk about what saying less actually looks like in real life, because this is not about becoming quiet or withdrawn. It looks like responding with a sentence instead of a paragraph. It looks like saying no without adding a whole backstory. It looks like stating a preference without apologizing. It looks like letting a boundary stand without reselling it. For example, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I just have a lot going on right now and I really wish I could, but I'm just feeling overwhelmed and I hope you understand," you can say, "I won't be able to do that right now." That's it. That's a sentence. And just in case your nervous system starts panicking after you say it, that does not mean you did something wrong. It means you are practicing a new pattern. A lot of people worry that saying less will make them come across as rude. But here is the psychological truth. Respectful communication does not require excess explanation. It requires honesty and consistency. If you keep explaining, you are often trying to manage someone else's discomfort, and that is not your job. Okay? When you say less, you give people space to respond authentically. Some people will respect it immediately. and others might push back. That response gives you information. Information is helpful. It shows you where you are over functioning in relationships. Now let's bring this into everyday life in a very practical way. First, pause before you respond. Even a 2-second pause can interrupt the urge to over-explain. Silence is not awkward, it's neutral. Second, practice short sentences. Not clipped, not cold, just clear. You can be warm and brief at the same time. Third, notice where guilt shows up after you speak. That guilt is often old conditioning. You are not responsible for making everyone comfortable with your personal boundaries. Fourth, let people ask follow-up questions instead of pre-answering them. If they need more context, they will ask. If they do not, you saved yourself energy. Fifth, regulate your body first. Over-explaining is a nervous system habit. Grounding yourself physically will make it easier to communicate simply. When you say less, your words carry more weight. They are not buried in filler words. They are intentional, and people tend to listen more closely when a communication is calm. And here's a quote that sums this up beautifully. Soft confidence doesn't shout, it settles. And that is really the energy we're going for. Saying less is a form of self-respect. It tells your nervous system, I trust myself. I do not need to prove my reality. Over time, this builds confidence and emotional safety. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Growth usually does. But discomfort does not mean danger. It means you're unlearning something. And before we wrap up, I want to give you something to carry with you. What would change if you trusted your words enough to let them stand without explanation? Maybe try it once this week. One boundary, one preference, one honest sentence. Then notice how it feels in your body, because that's actually the awareness where the shift begins. If this episode helped you, I'd love for you to follow the show here on Spotify and maybe even share it with someone else. And don't forget to check out my Instagram, Justellamaria, for more cozy productivity, Vanilla Girl Academy mindset shifts, soft routines, and a lot more. Until next time, okay, bye!